Hey, welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome in. I am really glad you found this one. Let me start with a question. When you think of the most feared animals in the Maasai Mara, what comes to mind? The lion, obviously. The crocodile lurking in the river. The hippo that kills more people than almost anything else in Africa. The elephant that could flatten a car. The hyena with that bone-crushing bite. These are the heavyweights, the legends, the animals everything else on the savanna is afraid of. And here is what we have all been taught to believe, that these animals are unstoppable, untouchable. Perfect killing machines with no flaws and no fears. The kings and queens of the African wild, sitting comfortably at the top, scared of nothing. But that is a lie. And today, you and me, we are going to expose it. Because every single one of these feared animals, no matter how terrifying it looks, is hiding a weakness. A real one. The lion that cannot afford a single mistake. The giant elephant brought down by the smallest of threats. The crocodile that loses its power the moment it leaves the water. The hippo that is both ruler and prisoner of the river. And the hyena, trapped in one of the most ruthless societies in all of nature. 5 feared animals, 5 weaknesses you have never been told about. And by the end of this video, I promise you will never look at these creatures the same way again. Quick thing before we dive in. If you enjoy what we do on this channel, a like really does help me out, and subscribing means you will not miss the next one. No pressure at all, just glad you're here. Alright, let's get into it. Let me start this one with a confession. For most of my life I believed the lie. The big one. The one we all grew up with. The lion is the king. Unstoppable. Untouchable. The animal that fears nothing and rules everything. The crown, the roar, the throne, the whole package. And I want to tell you right now, before we even get going, that this is one of the biggest illusions in the entire animal kingdom. And today, you and me, we are going to take that illusion apart piece by piece. Because here is the truth that nobody puts on the nature posters. The lion is not a king sitting comfortably on a throne. The lion is a gambler living on borrowed time. Every single day of its life is a bet, and the house always wants its money back. So stay with me, because by the end of this chapter, you are going to see the most feared animal in the Maasai Mara, in a way you have never seen it before. Let's get into it. The first thing people get wrong is they think the lion's life is easy. They look at a lion lying in the grass, yawning, stretching, sleeping 20 hours a day, and they think, wow, what a life. King behavior. No worries, no stress, just vibes and naps. But here is what that nap is actually about. That lion is not relaxing because life is good. That lion is conserving energy because it cannot afford to waste a single drop of it. Hunting is brutally expensive. A lion sprints, and that sprint burns through fuel like crazy, and lions are not even built for long chases. They are built for short, explosive bursts. So when a lion goes for a hunt, it is making a bet. It is betting that the energy it spends chasing will be less than the energy it gains from eating. And here is the kicker. Most hunts fail. Most of them. The lion charges, commits, burns the fuel, and the prey gets away. Now the lion is hungrier than before, weaker than before, and it has to do it all again. That nap you are looking at is not luxury. That nap is a creature carefully managing a fuel tank that is almost always close to empty. So the first lie we are breaking is this. The lion is not lazy and comfortable. The lion is rationing. Every nap is a calculation. Every rest is a survival decision. The king does not sleep because he can. The king sleeps because he must. Now let me show you the second thing that makes this unstoppable king idea fall apart. And this one is going to hurt a little bit. The lion's dinner can kill it. Literally. The very food the lion needs to survive can end its life in a single second. Think about what lions hunt in the Mara. Buffalo, zebra, wildebeest. Big, powerful, heavy animals with hooves and horns and absolutely no interest in being eaten. A buffalo can weigh more than 3 lions combined. And a buffalo kick, one single kick, can shatter a lion's jaw, break its ribs, snap a leg. And a lion with a broken jaw is a dead lion. Not right away. Slowly. It cannot eat. It cannot hunt. It starves over days or weeks while the injury does the rest. There is no animal hospital in the savanna. There is no healing time off. An injury that would be a minor inconvenience to you or me is a death sentence to a lion. So picture this. The lion has to attack the exact animal that can kill it, because that animal is also its food. It is like if every meal you ever ate had a real chance of fighting back and breaking your spine. Would you still call that the easy life of a king? Or would you call it the most dangerous job on the planet? Because that is what it is. The lion is a predator that has to gamble its own body just to fill its stomach. Every hunt is a roll of the dice with its life on the table. And it gets worse. Because even when the lion wins, even when it makes the kill, even when it survives the buffalo and the zebra and the whole dangerous business of catching dinner, the dinner can still get stolen. This is the third thing people do not understand. The lion does the hardest, most dangerous work, and then has to defend the reward from thieves. Enter the hyenas. Now, I know hyenas have a bad reputation, the cowardly scavengers from the cartoons. But let me tell you, in real life, hyenas are organized, intelligent, and absolutely relentless. And when a clan of hyenas shows up at a lion's kill, the math changes fast. A single hyena will not challenge a lion, but 10 hyenas, 15, 20. Suddenly the lion is outnumbered, and lions know how to count risk. A lioness on her own, even a couple of lionesses, will often back away from a big hyena clan and let them take the food she risked her life for, the food she burned her precious energy to catch. Gone, stolen, by the laughing competition. So now, stack it all up. The lion has to ration its energy because hunting is expensive. The lion has to risk its body because the prey can kill it. And then, after surviving all of that, the lion might lose the meal anyway to a gang of hyenas. Does that sound like a king on a throne to you? Or does that sound like a worker who keeps getting robbed on payday? But I have saved the heaviest part for last, because everything I just told you is about staying alive day to day. The fourth thing, the big one, is about the male lion's entire future, and it is darker than you think. We love the image of the big male lion, the mane, the swagger, the dominance, but that dominance is rented, not owned. A male lion does not get to be king forever. He holds a territory and a pride only as long as he can defend them. And there is always a younger, stronger coalition coming. Always. Other males, often brothers, teaming up, roaming, looking for a pride to take over. And when they find one, they fight. And these fights are not for show. They are brutal, bloody, and often fatal. When a male lion loses that fight, he does not get to retire. He does not wander off to a peaceful old age. He gets driven out, injured, alone, often unable to hunt properly because lions are built to hunt in groups. A solo male lion, wounded and exiled, is one of the saddest, most vulnerable things in the whole ecosystem. Many of them simply do not survive long after losing their territory. The crown does not just slip off. It gets ripped off violently by the next gambler in line. And here is the part that really gets me. The new males that take over will often kill the cubs of the previous males. So everything the old king built, his bloodline, his future, gets erased in a matter of days. That is the real life of the so-called king. Short, violent, borrowed. A male lion in his prime is not sitting on a throne feeling safe. He is standing on a trapdoor, and he can feel the hinges getting loose. So let me bring this all the way home for you. The lion looks unstoppable. It looks dominant. It looks like the king of everything. But peel back that image, and what you actually find is a creature under constant pressure, rationing energy because every hunt could fail, risking its body because every meal can fight back, losing food to thieves because being strong is not the same as being safe, and living with the knowledge, somewhere deep in its instincts, that its reign can end overnight. The lion is not a king. The king is the story we tell. The real animal is a gambler, playing a game it cannot quit, on borrowed time with its own life as the stake. And honestly, knowing that, watching that lion lie in the grass, I do not feel like I am looking at royalty anymore. I feel like I am looking at a survivor who has gambled and won just one more time today. And that, to me, is so much more impressive than any crown. So stay with me, because next, we are going after an animal that looks even more untouchable than the lion. And its weakness is going to surprise you. Okay, I want you to picture the biggest, most powerful land animal on the entire planet. 6 tons of muscle, tusks that can flip a car, feet that could flatten almost anything that walks, a brain so intelligent it mourns its dead. The African elephant, the giant, the animal that surely fears absolutely nothing, right? What could possibly scare something that big? And that is exactly the lie I want to break today. Because here is the strange, almost unbelievable truth about elephants. The biggest animal in the Maasai Mara is not brought down by the biggest threats. It is worn down by the smallest ones. And once you understand that, you will never look at an elephant the same way again. So stay with me, because this one is a real paradox, and I love a good paradox. Let's get into it. The first thing I have to tell you, and honestly the first time I learned this I did not believe it, is that elephants are afraid of bees. Bees, tiny little insects, the biggest land animal on Earth, the creature that fears no lion, no buffalo, no human in a vehicle, can be sent running by a swarm of something that weighs less than a grain of rice. Now why? Why would a 6-ton giant care about a bee? Here is the thing. An elephant's skin looks armored, and most of it is thick, but there are soft, sensitive spots. Around the eyes, inside the trunk, behind the ears. And the inside of the trunk is the worst possible place for an elephant to get stung, because that trunk is its most precious tool. It breathes through it, drinks through it, smells through it, feels the world through it. A swarm of angry bees going for those soft spots, especially up the trunk, is genuine agony. So elephants have learned over generations to take bees seriously. Scientists have actually recorded elephants making a specific rumble, a special alarm call just for bees, and the whole herd will turn and move away when they hear it. Let that sink in for a second. The largest land animal alive has a dedicated panic button for an insect. And I'm not telling you this to make the elephant look weak. I am telling you because it reveals something deep about how nature actually works. Size does not make you immune. There is always a gap in the armor. Always. And for the mighty elephant, one of those gaps is small enough to fly. Now let me take you to the second weakness, and this one is heavier because it is about the babies. The most dangerous time in an elephant's entire life is the very beginning of it. An adult elephant is nearly untouchable, but a calf is a different story completely. A newborn elephant is wobbly, slow and tiny compared to the adults, and the savanna is full of things that are watching. Lions, especially big coordinated prides, will absolutely target a young elephant if they think they can separate it from the herd. Hyenas too, if the opportunity comes. The calf cannot outrun them. It cannot fight them. Its only protection is the herd, those big angry aunts and that fierce mother forming a wall of muscle around it. But here is the cruel part. The threats to a calf are not just predators. The savanna itself is trying to take them. A calf can get stuck in mud at a drying waterhole and not have the strength to pull itself free. It can fall down a riverbank. It can get separated in chaos and panic. And worst of all, it can simply run out of water. In a drought, a mother's body struggles to produce enough milk, and the calf weakens, slowly, day by day. No monster attacks it. No villain shows up. It is just the slow, quiet pressure of an environment that does not care how cute the baby is. So the second weakness is this. For all the elephant's power, that power takes years to grow. And in those early years, the giant is fragile. The mightiest animal on the plains begins life as one of the most vulnerable. And many calves do not make it through that gauntlet of small, constant dangers. Now, you might think, okay, but once an elephant grows up and survives all that, surely then it is finally safe. Finally, untouchable. And that brings me to the third weakness, which honestly might be the saddest one of all. Because the elephant has an enemy. It can never fight, never outrun, and never win against. And that enemy is its own teeth. Here is something most people never learn. Elephants do not have one set of adult teeth like we do. They go through a series of massive molars over their lifetime, 6 sets in total. As one set wears down from a lifetime of grinding tough grasses and bark, a new set slowly moves forward to replace it. But there is a catch, and it is a brutal one. The 6th and final set is the last. There is no 7th. When that last set of teeth wears down, usually in their 60s, the elephant can no longer chew its food properly. Think about what that means. This animal can be otherwise healthy. Strong heart, strong body, decades of wisdom in its head. And it slowly starves to death, not because it cannot find food, but because it can no longer process it. The giant is defeated by something as small and quiet as worn-down teeth. Nature builds the most powerful land animal on Earth and then puts a timer on it, hidden inside its own mouth. There is something almost unbearably poetic about that, and also kind of devastating. And that leads me to the fourth weakness, which ties everything together. The thing about all of these threats, the bees, the dangers to calves, the worn teeth, drought, the loss of migration routes when human development blocks the old paths, is that none of them is a single dramatic monster. There is no great rival that defeats the elephant in one epic battle. Instead, the elephant's life is a slow accumulation of small pressures, repeated over and over, year after year. And this is the fresh angle I really want you to walk away with. We are trained by movies to think every powerful creature has one great enemy. The lion has the buffalo. The hero has the villain. But the elephant's story does not work like that. The elephant's weakness is not one bigger monster. It is 1,000 small things applied with patience over a very long life. A sting here, a dry season there, a blocked migration route, a worn tooth, a lost calf. None of them alone would matter. All of them together over decades are what actually shape and end an elephant's life. And honestly, I find that more profound than any single dramatic threat could ever be. Because it tells us something true about strength itself. Being enormous protects you from the big, obvious dangers, but it does nothing against the small, persistent ones. You can be the most powerful thing on the landscape and still be slowly worn down by the things you cannot punch, cannot crush, cannot intimidate. The bee does not care how big you are. The drought does not care. Time does not care. So let me bring it all home. The elephant looks invincible, and against any single attacker, it basically is. But invincibility against the big stuff is not the same as safety. The giant fears the bee because the bee can reach where the lion cannot. The giant guards the calf because the early years are a minefield of small disasters. The giant cannot escape its own teeth because some clocks cannot be stopped. The elephant's life is not threatened by one great enemy. It is shaped, pressured, and eventually ended by the accumulation of tiny things. And that, to me, makes the elephant even more magnificent. Because every old elephant you see, every wise giant with worn tusks and a long memory, has survived not one great battle, but 10,000 tiny ones. That is not weakness. That is endurance. That is a giant that learned to fear the small things and lived long because of it. So stay with me, because next, we are going after an animal whose entire reputation is built on speed, and whose weakness is hiding in plain sight inside that very gift. Let me ask you something. What is the oldest nightmare you can think of? Not a movie monster, a real one. Something that has been hunting on this planet for so long, it watched the dinosaurs come and go. Something that has barely needed to change its design in over 100 million years, because the design was already that good. I am talking, of course, about the crocodile, the Nile crocodile, the ancient killer of the Maasai Mara's rivers. And I want to start by giving this animal its full respect, because it deserves it. But then I am going to tell you the secret, the thing that the documentaries skip past. Because the crocodile, this perfect prehistoric murder machine, has a weakness so massive that it changes everything about how you should understand it. And it is hiding in plain sight. So stay with me, because this one is going to flip your whole picture of this animal. Let's get into it. First, let me show you the crocodile at its best, because you have to understand the strength before the weakness makes sense. In the water, the Nile crocodile is, without exaggeration, one of the most terrifyingly effective predators that has ever existed. And the scariest part is that you almost never see it coming. A crocodile can float just beneath the surface with only its eyes and nostrils showing, looking exactly like a harmless log. It can stay still for hours. It is patient in a way that is genuinely unsettling. It does not chase. It waits. And when an animal comes down to the water to drink, that is when the trap springs. The strike is unbelievable. A crocodile can launch itself out of the water faster than your eye can really track. And then comes the bite. The Nile crocodile has one of the most powerful bites ever measured in the animal kingdom. We are talking thousands of pounds of force, jaws that clamp shut like a steel trap and simply do not open. And then the death roll. The crocodile grabs its prey, twists its entire body over and over with terrifying power, and drags the victim under to drown it. During the great wildebeest crossings, when thousands of animals pour across the rivers, the crocodiles are waiting, and it is pure chaos. In the water, on its terms, the crocodile is basically a force of nature. I am not going to pretend otherwise. So here is the question. If the crocodile is that perfect, that unstoppable, where on earth is the weakness? And the answer is the whole point of this chapter. The crocodile is only that terrifying in the water. The moment it leaves the water, the moment the battlefield changes, this perfect killer becomes something else entirely. Something slower, something more vulnerable, something that frankly would rather not be there at all. Let me explain the first part of this, which is all about heat. The crocodile is a cold-blooded animal. It does not generate its own body warmth the way you and I do. It depends completely on its environment to regulate its temperature. That is why you see crocodiles basking on riverbanks with their mouths wide open. They are not threatening anyone. They are literally just managing their body heat like a living solar panel. And this dependence on the outside world is a serious limitation. In the cool of the morning, a crocodile is sluggish. Its whole system runs slower. And out in the open, under a brutal midday sun, it faces the opposite problem. It can overheat, and overheating can be deadly. So the crocodile is forever stuck managing its temperature, tied to the water and the shade, never fully free to just go wherever it wants, whenever it wants. The killer has a thermostat it does not control, and that is a real chink in the armor. Now here is the second part, and this is the one that really breaks the myth. On land, the crocodile's body just does not work the way it does in water. In the river, the crocodile is graceful, powerful, fast, an absolute master of its medium. But pull that same animal onto dry ground, and the physics change completely. That long, heavy body and those short legs are built for swimming, not running. Yes, a crocodile can do a surprising quick burst over a short distance, and I would never tell you to test that. But it cannot sustain it. It cannot chase. It has no endurance on land. After a short dash, it is done, overheated and exhausted. Its entire hunting strategy on land collapses because the crocodile was never designed to hunt by pursuit. It was designed to ambush, to wait, to explode out of the water and then retreat right back into it. Do you see what is happening here? The crocodile's power is not really in the crocodile. The power is in the water. Take away the water, and you take away most of the threat. This animal is not equally terrifying everywhere. It is terrifying in exactly one place, and almost ordinary outside of it. And this leads me to the third thing, which is how vulnerable the crocodile actually becomes when it is away from its element. On land, A crocodile is more exposed than you would ever expect. Young crocodiles especially are on the menu for all kinds of predators. Big cats, birds of prey, monitor lizards, even other crocodiles. And eggs and hatchlings are incredibly vulnerable. A mother crocodile guards her nest fiercely, but she cannot be everywhere. And the survival rate for baby crocodiles is brutally low. Most of them never make it to adulthood. So this ancient, fearsome lineage actually begins life as one of the most hunted, most fragile creatures around. The terror of the river starts out as a tiny snack with legs. Even the adults, away from the water, lose their edge. A crocodile caught far from the river, slow and overheating, is a crocodile that has lost its biggest advantage. It is not the nightmare anymore. It is just a large reptile in the wrong place, wishing it could get back to the one location where it actually rules. And this is the fresh angle I really want you to take away from this chapter. We tend to think of predators as being dangerous because of what they are. The crocodile is dangerous because it is a crocodile, right? But that is not quite true. The crocodile is dangerous because of where it is. It is not just a predator. It is a weapon that only works in the right terrain. Put that weapon in the water, and it is devastating. Put it on dry land in the midday heat, and it is a fraction of itself. The crocodile did not win at being a killer everywhere. It won by being absolutely perfect in one specific environment, and then making sure it almost never has to leave it. And honestly, when you understand that, the crocodile gets even more fascinating. Because this animal is not pretending to be invincible everywhere. It is not wasting energy trying to be a land hunter or a chaser. It figured out, over 100 million years, exactly where it is unbeatable, and it built its entire life around staying there. The crocodile does not chase the fight to where it is weak. It waits for the fight to come to where it is strong. That is not a flaw in its strategy. That is the strategy. So let me bring it home. The crocodile looks like a perfect killing machine, and in the water, it genuinely is one of the most effective predators that has ever lived. But its power is not portable. It is chained to a thermostat it cannot fully control, trapped in a body that thrives in water and struggles on land, and it spends its early life as one of the most hunted animals around. The crocodile is not terrifying everywhere. It is terrifying when the battlefield belongs to it, and surprisingly ordinary when it does not. So the lesson of the crocodile is simple and a little bit chilling. Never fight this animal on its terms, in its water, where every advantage is stacked in its favor. But also understand that its strength has an address. Step away from that water, and the ancient nightmare becomes a slow, overheating reptile that just wants to get home. So stay with me, because next, we are going after an animal famous for one incredible gift. A gift so extreme that it created a weakness almost no other predator has to live with. Okay, I need to start this one with a number that genuinely surprises most people. Of all the large animals in Africa, the one that kills the most humans is not the lion. It is not the crocodile. It is not the elephant or the buffalo. It is the hippo. This rotund, almost comical-looking animal that you see in cartoons being all cute and round is one of the most dangerous creatures on the entire continent. So let me get this out of the way immediately. I have enormous respect for the hippo, and you should too. Do not let the chubby cheeks fool you. But here is the lie I want to break today. We look at the hippo in the water, dominating its pool, chasing off crocodiles, crushing boats, and we think it is an invincible water monster. Unbeatable, untouchable, the undisputed tank of the river. And that picture is only half true, because the hippo is hiding a fragile secret, and it is a paradox so perfect that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The hippo is powerful because of water, but it is also imprisoned by it. So stay with me, because this is one of my favorite contradictions in all of nature. Let's get into it. First, let me give the hippo its respect, because the strength is real, and it is terrifying. In the water, the hippo is the boss. Full stop. A big male can weigh as much as a small truck, and despite the round, soft look, almost all of that is muscle and bone. Those jaws can open to an absolutely ridiculous angle, and inside are tusk-like teeth that can crush bone and slice through flesh. Hippos are fiercely territorial in the water. They will charge boats. They will attack crocodiles, animals we just spent a whole chapter being scared of, and the crocodiles often back down. A hippo in its pool is not something anything in the Mara wants to provoke. So yes, the water monster reputation is earned. But now let me show you the secret. And it starts with something you would never expect for an animal that looks this tough. The hippo's skin. Because here is the strange truth. For all its power, the hippo has surprisingly sensitive skin, and it cannot handle the African sun. At all. Think about that. The most dangerous large animal in Africa cannot simply walk around in the daytime like everyone else. If a hippo stays out under that harsh sun for too long, its skin starts to dry out and crack. It does not have the protection you would expect. Now, the hippo has one famous trick for this. It produces a reddish, oily secretion, and for years people called it blood sweat, which is a fantastic name but not accurate. It is not blood, and it is not sweat. It is a natural substance that acts like a built-in sunscreen and antiseptic, helping protect the skin and keep it moist, which is genuinely incredible. But here is the thing. Even that is not enough on its own. The hippo still needs to stay in the water, or wallow in mud through the heat of the day, to keep its skin from drying out and cracking. So this giant, this river tank, is chained to the water, not just by choice, but by biology. It physically cannot just stroll across the savanna in the sun the way a lion or an elephant can. The water is not only its kingdom, it is its life support system. And that is the first half of the prison. But here is where it gets really interesting, because the hippo has a problem. It is enormous, and it needs a lot of food. And here is the twist that catches everyone off guard. The hippo does not eat in the water. It grazes on grass, on land, which means every single night this water-bound giant has to leave the safety of its pool and walk out onto the open land to feed. This is the second part of the secret, and it is the moment the invincible monster becomes vulnerable. At night, hippos travel surprising distances away from the water to graze, sometimes several kilometers. And out there, in the open, away from their watery fortress, the rules change. On land, a hippo is still powerful, do not get me wrong, but it is out of its element. It is more exposed. And the truly vulnerable ones, the calves, the sick, the old, the weak, are the most at risk during these nightly journeys. A baby hippo, away from the protection of the pool and the herd, is a target. Lions have been known to take hippos on land, especially the young or the isolated. The fortress only protects you when you are inside it, and the hippo is forced, every single night, by its own hunger, to leave. Do you see the trap closing? The hippo cannot stay in the water all the time because it needs to eat grass on land. But it cannot stay on land because the sun will damage its skin, and because it is far more vulnerable out there. So it is caught, forever, shuttling between two worlds, fully safe in neither. Powerful in the water, exposed on the land, and unable to fully commit to either one. That is not invincibility. That is a life lived on a tightrope between two dangers. And now let me show you the third part, the one that turns the hippo's greatest strength into its greatest threat. Because the thing about needing water so badly is this. What happens when the water starts to disappear? During a drought, the rivers shrink, and the big pools dry up into small, muddy puddles. And all the hippos that used to be spread out across a healthy river system now get crammed together into whatever water is left. Picture it. These intensely territorial animals, these creatures that will fight to the death over space, suddenly forced shoulder to shoulder in a shrinking pool with no room to spread out. The result is exactly what you would imagine. Violence, stress, constant fighting, males clashing over territory that barely exists anymore, calves getting crushed in the chaos. And on top of all that, when you pack that many animals into dirty, stagnant, shrinking water, disease spreads like wildfire. Overcrowded drought pools can become breeding grounds for sickness that sweeps through the population. So the very thing that gives the hippo its power, its dependence on water, becomes the thing that can destroy it when that water runs short. The strength and the weakness are the same exact trait. The hippo cannot live without water. And so when water becomes scarce, the hippo's whole world turns into a crowded, violent, disease-ridden trap. Its greatest need becomes its greatest vulnerability. And this is the fresh angle I want you to carry away. We look at the hippo and we see a creature defined by its power. But the truth is the hippo is defined by its dependence. Everything about this animal, its dominance, its danger, its daily routine, its survival, all of it is dictated by water. The water makes the hippo a king, and the water makes the hippo a prisoner. It cannot leave for long because of the sun and the exposure. It cannot stay forever because it has to eat on land. And it cannot survive if the water itself disappears. The hippo did not conquer the river. The hippo is married to it, for better and for worse, with no possibility of divorce. So let me bring this home. The hippo absolutely deserves its fearsome reputation. In the water, it is one of the most dangerous animals you will ever encounter, and I would never tell you otherwise. But invincible? No, the river tank has a fragile secret. Its skin betrays it under the sun. Its hunger forces it onto dangerous land every night. And its total dependence on water means that when the dry season bites hard, its sanctuary becomes a battlefield. The hippo is not a water monster that happens to live in water. The hippo is an animal that water built, water protects, and water can ultimately doom. Powerful because of it, imprisoned by it, both at the same time, always. So stay with me, because for our final chapter, we are going after the most feared hunter of them all, an animal whose entire identity is built on being the ultimate killer, and whose weakness is the most surprising of all. Let me tell you about the most disrespected animal in all of Africa, the one that gets cast as the villain in every story, the ugly one, the cowardly one, the laughing scavenger that slinks around stealing scraps from braver, nobler animals, the hyena. We have been taught to look down on this animal our entire lives. The cartoons made them into dumb, giggling henchmen. The documentaries called them thieves. And almost everybody agrees the hyena is just an ugly scavenger with no real strength and no real worth. And today, in our final chapter, I am going to tear that lie apart completely. Because the hyena might just be the most misunderstood animal in the entire Maasai Mara. The truth is, the spotted hyena is intelligent, powerful, fiercely social, and one of the toughest survivors on the whole continent. But, and this is the twist, its real weakness is not what you would ever guess. It is not weakness of body. It is something far more interesting. So stay with me, because I have saved one of the best stories for last. Let's get into it. First, let me demolish the scavenger myth, because it is wrong, and it is the foundation that all the disrespect is built on. Yes, hyenas scavenge, but here is the part nobody tells you. Spotted hyenas are also formidable hunters. In many areas, they kill the majority of their own food themselves. They are not just cleaning up after lions. They are out there running down wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle, often in coordinated group chases that can go on for kilometers. Hyenas have incredible endurance. They are not fast like a cheetah, but they are relentless, and they can wear down prey over long distances in a way most predators simply cannot. And here is the funniest part of the whole scavenger reputation. The relationship between lions and hyenas. It runs both ways. Lions steal from hyenas at least as often as hyenas steal from lions. A clan of hyenas brings down a kill, and a pride of lions muscles in and takes it. So the thieving hyena story is, frankly, a bit of a public relations disaster, because the so-called noble lion is doing the exact same thing. The hyena is not a parasite living off the king. The hyena is a hunter who often gets robbed by the king and then gets blamed for being a thief. The reputation is upside down. And one more thing on strength, because it matters. That bite. The spotted hyena has one of the most powerful bites of any mammal its size. It can crack open the thick leg bones of large animals to get at the marrow inside, food that almost nothing else can access. Hyenas waste almost nothing. They can digest parts of a carcass that other predators leave behind entirely. This is not a weak, pathetic animal. This is an incredibly capable, efficient survivor. So let us put the ugly, useless scavenger myth in the ground right now, where it belongs. But now, here is where it gets fascinating. Because I promised you a weakness, and the hyena absolutely has one. It is just not the one you expect. The hyena's greatest vulnerability is not its body. It is the brutal, complicated, ruthless society it is born into. Because spotted hyenas live in one of the most political animal societies on Earth. Let me explain. Hyenas live in large groups called clans, and these clans are run by a strict social hierarchy. And here is the wild part. It is a female-dominated society. The females are larger, more aggressive, and they run the show. Every clan is ranked, top to bottom, and your rank determines almost everything about your life. It determines when you get to eat at a kill, and how much. It determines your access to safety. It determines your status from the moment you are born. Because here is the brutal truth. In hyena society, you inherit your mother's rank. If your mother is high-ranking, you are born into privilege. If she is low-ranking, you are born into the bottom of the pile, and you will spend your life fighting an uphill battle. This is the first part of the weakness. A hyena's survival depends not just on how strong or smart it is, but on the social position it was born into. Imagine that. Imagine being one of the toughest predators in Africa, but your access to food and safety is decided by clan politics you had no say in. That is the reality for a low-ranking hyena. It can be a perfectly capable hunter and still end up eating last, getting the scraps, struggling, simply because of where it sits in the social order. In hyena society, your bloodline is your destiny, and that is a kind of pressure most animals never have to deal with. And it starts shockingly early, which is the second part of this. Hyena cubs are born into this rank politics from day one. Cubs begin establishing dominance over each other almost immediately, sometimes with real aggression. From the very beginning, a young hyena is learning its place in a complex social ladder, figuring out who it can push around and who it has to submit to. There is no gentle childhood here. The political game starts in the den, and navigating it successfully, knowing when to be aggressive, when to submit, who to ally with, requires genuine intelligence. And that is exactly why hyenas are so smart. In some social problem-solving tests, hyenas have outperformed chimpanzees. Their intelligence was forged by the constant need to navigate a brutal social world. The politics made them clever, because in their society, the ones who could not read the room did not survive. Now let me show you the third part of the weakness, the constant external pressure. Because being in a clan does not make you safe from the outside world either. Lions and hyenas are mortal enemies, and when lions get the chance, they will kill hyenas. Not to eat them, just to eliminate the competition. A pride of lions catching a lone hyena is a death sentence. So the hyena lives squeezed between two pressures at once. Inside the clan, there is constant social competition, jockeying for rank, fighting for position at the kill. And outside the clan, there are lions waiting to kill them, prey that can injure them during hunts, and the endless risk that comes with chasing dangerous animals for a living. Every single day, the hyena is managing threats from both directions, from its own society and from the world outside it. And this is the fresh angle I want you to take away, the one that completely reframes this animal. The hyena is not a cowardly scavenger. The hyena is a gangland survivor. It lives in one of the most political, rank-obsessed, ruthless societies in all of Africa, where your family name determines your future, where the politics start in the cradle, and where you have to be brilliant just to survive the social game, never mind the lions and the hunts. The hyena's weakness is not that it is weak. Its weakness is that strength alone is not enough. In hyena society, you can be powerful and still lose, simply because of where you stand in the hierarchy. Survival depends on social position as much as muscle. And honestly, that makes them more relatable to us than almost any other animal out here. We know all about societies where it is not just what you can do, but who you are connected to. The hyena lives that truth every single day. So let me bring this home, and let me bring the whole journey home with it. We started this video by promising to expose the weaknesses of the Maasai Mara's most feared animals. And look at what we actually found. The lion, the great king, is a gambler living on borrowed time. The elephant, the unstoppable giant, is worn down by the smallest of threats. The crocodile, the perfect killer, is only deadly on the right battlefield. The hippo, the river tank, is both powered and imprisoned by water. And the hyena, the supposed cowardly scavenger, is actually a brilliant survivor trapped in a ruthless political world. Do you see the thread running through all of them? Not one of these animals is invincible. Every single one of them, no matter how terrifying, no matter how powerful, is fighting a constant battle against pressures we never see when we just glance at them on a nature poster. And that, to me, is the real lesson. The most feared animals in Africa are not feared because they are flawless. They are feared because they survive every day, in spite of weaknesses that would break almost anything else. Their strength is not the absence of vulnerability. Their strength is what they do with it anyway. And that is what makes them magnificent. Not the myth, the truth. So thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this journey through the real lives of these incredible animals, you know what to do, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, keep looking closer. The truth is always more amazing than the legend.